In this episode of the Red and Gold Report, we're going to be looking at Chiefs starting left tackle Orlando Brown, who it is rumored is asking for the Chiefs to give him the biggest offensive lineman contract of all time. As many of you all know, Brown is currently on the 1-year franchise tag. However, the Chiefs has said throughout the offseason that they are interested in signing him to a long-term deal. But at this point, Orlando is already staying away from OTAs due to his contract status. And we've gotten some very interesting news. According to league sources, Orlando is going to be asking the Chiefs to make him the highest paid offensive tackle in the NFL. Yes, if true, that means he's going to be asking the Chiefs for more money than the 49ers gave Trent Williams. And that was a $138 million 6-year deal that averages $23 million per season with over $45 million guaranteed. So, wow. It appears that Brown is going to be asking the Chiefs to give him like $24 or $25 million a year. But interestingly, the negotiations aren't going anywhere right now because Orlando Brown Jr. is still trying to just hire an agent. That's not a joke. He's just interviewing agents right now, trying to figure out who is going to lead this negotiation for him with the Chiefs. But this news that Brown wants to be paid as the top offensive lineman, it's jarring. It's jarring. Now, it's not unexpected. I mean, he did force his way out of Baltimore in 2021 so he could play left tackle elsewhere. Specifically, he said, so he could earn more money. So this isn't unexpected, but it's very shocking. And it makes us wonder, should the Chiefs fork over the biggest offensive lineman contract in league history to secure his services? Now, this is a vitally important question because getting it wrong could either leave our team without a future left tackle or it could potentially destroy our team's salary cap for years to come. And what to do all comes down to this one single question. Is Orlando Brown Jr. an elite left tackle? I mean, if he wants to get paid as the league's best left tackle, best offensive lineman, we have to ask, is he even in that conversation? Is he a top 3 offensive tackle? Is he elite? And here's my opinion. He's not. No. Orlando Brown is a good left tackle, and I really like the guy. He's good, but he's not elite. Now, I know that's a big statement, so I got to back it up, okay? Here's my spreadsheet with no opinions, not even grades, just plain objective numbers. I've taken the 3 best graded offensive tackles according to PFF, the 49ers Trent Williams, the Cowboys Tyron Smith, the Eagles Jordan Mailata, and let's compare these 3 elite tackles from last season to Orlando Brown. But real quick, make sure you subscribe to the Red and Gold Report on YouTube so you can get all the best Chiefs news brought to you on the interwebs. Okay, so let's compare Orlando Brown to these top 3 elite offensive tackles from last year in the NFL. And look, before I do this, just know I'm really not trying to dump on Orlando. I think he is a good left tackle, and I think there's a lot of value into having a good left tackle in the NFL. That's fine. Really, I like him. But if he's going to be asking to get paid as the top offensive tackle in the league, we get to make the criticism that he's not really in the elite conversation. So yes, if you look at our handy dandy spreadsheet, his sack total last year was not remarkably worse than the elite offensive tackles. But the hits he allowed on the quarterback are worse than the elite tackles by double or more. And his overall pressures allowed, which I think is very important. It's a very key stat for offensive linemen. Well, his total pressures were 36, whereas Trent Williams only allowed 16, Tyron Smith only allowed 11, Jordan Mailata only allowed 20. That means that Orlando Brown allowed more than double the pressures of the averages of the top 3 tackles in the NFL last year. So by the numbers, he's not close to that elite tackle group conversation in pass blocking. In case you're wondering about his run blocking, well, PFF graded his run blocking as a 68.4 last season, meaning he's, well, an average run blocker, maybe a touch tick below average for a starting offensive tackle. But just to make sure you don't start thinking he's a bad tackle, because he's not. He's a good tackle. Let's compare him to a few struggling starters from last season, like Baltimore's Alejandro Villanueva, who had 54 total pressures, or Las Vegas's Brandon Parker, who allowed 53 total pressures last season. Now, these struggling starters allowed about 50% more pressures than Orlando Brown. They also allowed double the amount of sacks than Orlando did, which is a huge difference, right? And it should also be noted that Orlando Brown played in the most offensive snaps of any offensive tackle last year in the league. And I should also mention that as I've kind of looked through the numbers, I really believe, and you just watch the tape, I really believe Brown improved in the second half of last season. Statistically, he gave up 61% of his pressures in the first half of last season. And he gave up 10 of his 12 quarterback hits in the first half of last season. And he gave up 3 of his 4 sacks in the first half of last season, meaning that his pass blocking really did noticeably improve in the back half of the season. I think a lot of us noticed that as we watched our Chiefs. So he is good. He's good. So, okay. You're getting the idea, right? Orlando Brown is a good left tackle. I mean, with bad left tackles, bad offensive tackles, allowing about 50% more pressures than him, which is substantial. But at the same time, he's not really close to being in that elite status, because the top elite offensive tackles are allowing under half of the pressures that Brown allows. And he's just not that dominant in the run blocking department. So where in the world does this leave us? Well, it leaves us in a jam. Seriously, this negotiation is going to be all jammed up because the Chiefs would be insane to give him a contract that he's asking for. You can't pay a good but not elite tackle like he's the number 1 tackle in the league. You can't do it. That's how you destroy your salary cap. However, as we found out with teams like Jacksonville this year in free agency, there are bottom dweller teams that are so desperate that they're willing to pay next to anything to bring in young players who are good but not great. So Orlando probably knows that somebody on the open market, if he could hit it one day, would probably back up that Brinks truck for him, right? So he's going to be asking that. So what should the Chiefs do? I don't think this negotiation is going to go well. I got to be honest. In fact, at this rate, I'd be surprised. I really would be surprised if he didn't miss camp and didn't miss some preseason time. But I think that the Chiefs should wait until Brown gets an agent, of course, then offer him a contract in that $17 million a year range, just to start the negotiation where he truly should belong in his value. He will, of course, outright reject that contract. When he does, then hopefully they give him a little leeway in the negotiations. But if he's demanding more than $20 million a year, which I think he probably will, let him decide if he wants to play this 1-year deal out on the franchise tag and then figure out next off season, when you know how he played during this season. Or if he's going to hold out, or if he's going to cave. Who knows what he would do? But man, oh man, I hope we don't pay a good player like an elite one, because we've already got all the cap problems we need, right? So bottom line is, as it stands right now, this has all the makings of a holdout. And actually, that's already begun in a small way, as Orlando has begun to miss voluntary workouts during the offseason, the OTAs. But what do you think? What do you think of Orlando's play last year? Do you think he will improve in this upcoming season? What kind of money do you want to see the Chiefs offer him? Let me know all that in the comments below. I know it's going to be a big discussion. Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit the like button on this video, the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and go Chiefs!